Our blue planet holds no shortage of fascinating ocean activity to observe. Our oceans are teeming with life and discovery. In this video, we will explore one of the ocean's most fascinating and easy to observe phenomenons, when sea life suddenly finds its way to shore. Whether you're at sea or ashore, subscribing to our videos will keep you up to date on the latest news and content. Meningitis. Few animals captivate the human imagination quite like the incredible predator, the shark. With such a variety of species and behaviors, this marine hunter gives us an endless mystery to explore. Shark strandings are certainly no new occurrence and have been observed all throughout human history. Many shark strandings remain a mystery. However, a groundbreaking study by Schaff et al. Has observed that a potential cause for some shark strandings may be meningitis. Meningitis is a swelling of tissues in the brain called meninges caused by bacteria. Every year, a significant number of juvenile salmon sharks strand themselves along the Northern California and Oregon coasts. Necropsies of some of these young sharks reveal a bacteria commonly found in other marine life, but not previously found in sharks. Stranded sharks from other areas reveal genetically identical bacteria without even the smallest genetic differences expected of separate bacterial isolates, suggesting that the sharks contracted it from a single source. Meningitis has been observed in stranded sharks before, but the condition's role was previously unclear. The nearly 100% occurrence of the disease in these salmon sharks is compelling evidence that this is the very reason they washed ashore. Hunting. Killer whales are an international marine life favorite. We watch them perform shows and observe them in the wild. As their name implies, they are incredible hunters with many techniques for capturing their prey. Orcas are extremely intelligent and have been seen tipping ice floats to slide seals into their mouths and seemingly playing games with their prey to confuse and outsmart them. These beautiful marine mammals are extremely aggressive, and one of their more vicious hunting skills can sometimes find them stranded on shore. When chasing a fast-swimming seal through the freezing Arctic waters, orcas can become single-minded and have been observed exploding out of the water and chasing their prey ashore. Oftentimes, this terrifying event wins the whale a meal, but it can sometimes spell disaster for the hunter and not the hunted. Once ashore, the whale's massive size and poor build for movement on land mean that they must get enough leverage from incoming waves to return to the ocean, or else they end up stranded, which is a life-threatening situation for these mighty creatures. If an orca remains out of the water for even a few minutes, its enormous weight will begin to crush its own organs. These brilliant and adaptive predators prove that they are fearless and willing to assume any risks to get their prey. Winter storms. In the winter of 2012, people were confused and astounded when an estimated 50,000 starfish suddenly washed up on a beach in Ireland. Starfish are a common find on the shore, but this number was particularly peculiar. Many theories exist as to why these animals appeared on shore in such an enormous number. At first, it was speculated that perhaps they had simply come too close to shore during breeding, and then found themselves stranded outside the surf. But starfish breed in spring and summer, and this event was similar to a mass stranding in Lincolnshire, which saw an estimated 40,000 starfish and whelk's eggs littering the beach. Both events occurred in winter, and both followed strong storms. Starfish usually feed on mollusks who live in shallow water. Millions of starfish will converge on mollusk colonies at any one time, and when strong currents pass through during storms, the starfish can be lifted away from the ocean floor and swept onto the shore. Once ashore, starfish have a difficult time moving on the sand. Unless they find themselves a rocky surface, they can easily become stranded. Wind. Few ocean animals are as beautiful as the vibrant but deadly blue bottle or Portuguese man of war. Each year, beaches all over the world experience a beautiful and sometimes painful display as thousands of blue bottles find their way to shore. These colorful creatures belong to the order Siphonophora, which includes animals that float or pulse through the water. The man of war finds itself at the wind's mercy as it's cast from shore from the open ocean. Blue bottles are unique in that they are not one organism, but a colony of 4 different specialized polyps and medusae fused together. The sail of the blue bottle, or pneumatophore, is a gas-filled bladder that can be left or right-leaning, changing sides approximately every 3 minutes. These creatures catch the currents of the winds to fish with their tentacles for prey. When wind patterns head to shore, we see the annual stranding of Portuguese man-o'-war. Man-o'-wars are capable of delivering a painful sting, whether in the water near shore or out on the sand. Swimmers are often advised to enter the water with caution or avoid the beach entirely depending on the number of animals present. The next time you visit the beach, be sure to watch out for these beautiful but painful drifters. Mating. Each year, the eastern seaboard of the U.S. plays host to one of the largest marine mating rituals found on land. Between the months of May and June, thousands of horseshoe crabs come ashore like clockwork every year in order to breed. This spawning season yields different results depending on where on the eastern seaboard you find yourself. Some states, such as Massachusetts or New York, can see numbers nearly in the tens, but Delaware, with its calm bay waters, has seen numbers in the tens of thousands. During the spawn, male horseshoe crabs grasp the hard exoskeleton of females and ride them to shore. The crabs come ashore at night during high tide and new or full moons. Once the paired crabs arrive on land, females dig small, shallow nests in the soft, wet sand. Males then follow behind them to fertilize the eggs. If the eggs survive, larval horseshoe crabs will emerge after 2 weeks or more. These young crabs resemble their parents, but without tails. Around 10 years of age, the crabs will reach maturity, at which point they will find themselves drawn to shore in the full moon of late spring. Sonar. As much as humans love our oceans, we can have unfortunate effects on them as well. From plastic waste in the garbage path, acidification, and climate change, we have affected the bodies covering 70% of our planet. Sonar is an invaluable technology for navigation, detection, and data collection. But as revealed in a report released in 2013, sonar has been conclusively identified as a cause in marine life stranding or beachings. The report was created by a panel of scientists, conservation organizations, and government agencies, and it positively identified sonar used by ExxonMobil during an offshore survey to a mass stranding of whales. The data shows that the whales had fled the location prior to the beginning of the seismic phase of the survey, which proved that even this kind of sonar, which is also used by military and research vessels, has a devastating effect on whales and dolphins. The event affected approximately 100 melon-headed whales in the Loza Lagoon system of northwest Madagascar. It was triggered in 2008 by acoustic stimuli from a multi-beam echo sounder system operated by a survey vessel contracted by the oil giant. It is hoped that this study, along with a solid body of research, can be used to persuade regulatory agencies to create policies to minimize the effects of human activity on marine life. Changes in the Earth's magnetic field. Normally, when we think of NASA, dolphins are the furthest thing from our minds. Outside of the occasional science fiction reference, Earth-based marine life seldom ends up in space. So why is it that NASA scientists are studying mass strandings of dolphins? It's because they believe the events to be the direct result of solar storms, which affect the Earth's magnetic field. NASA heliophysicist Antti Pulkkinen-Merila is working with the Federal Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, or BOEM, and the International Fund for Animal Welfare, or IFAW, to determine whether a link exists at the agency's Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland. The theory is that these solar storms throw off the animal's internal compasses. Dolphins may become confused and disoriented after the sun's corona ejects enormous bubbles of charged particles into the Earth's protective magnetosphere. These events interfere with orbital satellites and power grids, and may very well be causing mass strandings as well. Using funding from BOEM and NASA's Science Innovation Fund, Pulkkinen and his team are executing a massive data mining operation, and are even now poring over the records of hundreds of mass strandings, and the answer may soon be on the horizon. Global warming. Global warming, or climate change, is on the tip of everyone's tongue. From the academic world to the political arena, everyone is discussing the effect human activity has had on the environment. We all want to make the world a little better for future generations of people, but what about our marine life friends? The gregarious sea lion is easy to love. From his clumsy movements on land to his dog-like face, this is an animal that appeals to human compassion. Over the last 5 years, record numbers of sea lion pups have been found on California beaches, nearly 1,500 in 2015 alone. Many are plagued by parasites, sick with pneumonia, and almost always severely malnourished. Sea lion mothers are generally doting parents who only leave their pups to hunt, so why are there so many pups being stranded like never before? According to Dr. Andrew Treitz, who has studied marine mammals in the North Pole for 30 years, the answer is climate change. Rising temperatures have driven prey species further and further away from the sea lion's habitat, forcing mothers to abandon their pups or fail to return from the hunt in time to feed them. Wildlife rescuers are scrambling to rehabilitate and release the pups until a long-term solution can be found. Suffocation. Many marine animals breathe oxygen from the water they live in. When that water becomes stagnant or contains no oxygen, the animals can suffocate. There are a great many scenarios that can cause massive marine life die-offs from suffocation, which lead to a seemingly mysterious appearance of animals all over the shore. Perhaps the most common is when larger predatory animals drive huge schools of prey up rivers, trapping them in locks. A lock is a device used for raising and lowering watercraft between bodies of water of different depths on river and canal waterways. If a large concentration of fish become trapped in these structures, they quickly use up the oxygen in the water around them and begin to suffocate. A perfect example of this happened in 2016 in New York. Thousands upon thousands of fish blanketed the waters and shores of the Shinnecock Canal in Long Island. The fish had become trapped in the locks of the canal, and when released by the lock in the morning, washed up on shore and out to sea. A similar event occurred in 2014 in California. These events are not considered a threat to the environment or marine species at large, and amount to a somewhat sad inconvenience for humans. Hive mind. Perhaps one of the most mysterious, tragic, and fascinating causes for mass strandings or beachings of multiple marine mammals is the close and intimate social bonds that keep them in family units. Pilot whales in particular are extremely social animals and live in massive pods that can include hundreds of individuals. In January 2017, people in New Zealand discovered a grisly scene. About 416 pilot whales were stranded on a remote beach on the country's South Island. Volunteers worked tirelessly to return about 100 surviving animals to the water, but only about 50 made it. The animals were heeding their instincts to stay together and followed one individual who had become confused and disoriented. Whale after whale followed their pod members onto the shore and became trapped. The scene was devastating, as the whales sighed and even seemed to cry. Volunteers moved the enormous creatures back into the water at high tide and formed a human chain to stop them from returning to shore. Of the 100 animals originally returned to the sea, nearly half were beached again the following day, demonstrating just how deep those family bonds are. The high tides kept the remaining 50 survivors out to sea to hopefully rebuild their pods. We hope you enjoyed this video on 10 reasons why animals suddenly wash up on shore. Don't forget to like this video and avoid being stranded by subscribing to The Hub. We'll see you next time.